Welcome. Welcome. My name is Mary Beth Martello, and I'm the Town of Wellesley's Sustainability Director. And I am absolutely thrilled to see the incredible reception we've had to this program and to see all of you here tonight. I think this is such an important time for local climate action and for local community building. And it's wonderful that you have turned out to be part of it. Some quick thank yous to the Wellesley Free Library, to Wellesley Media, the Climate Action Committee, Sustainable Wellesley, to our wonderful presenters, and to a fantastic planning and organizing committee. And I want to particularly thank Lisa Giger. And I have a very special amount of gratitude and thanks to Susan Zelenko, who has been just working doggedly for weeks and bringing a lot of creativity and effort to this program. So I'm really, really grateful for the team effort. So we're here to talk about 6 ways to save money and the climate, but what I really think about, what motivates me in working on climate action every day, is the world that we're presenting to our children now and in the future, and to their children. And the thought that later is too late and that action is so critical right now. And you're all here because you recognize that we are facing an urgent crisis. Tonight we're going to talk about how to see opportunity in that crisis. Opportunity for a healthier world, a more resilient world, a more sustainable world, and a more equitable world. And so we have a packed agenda tonight. We are covering so many things, and we are doing that intentionally because we want you to see that there are many entry points for climate action. And so we are just, excuse the pun, we are just at the tip of the iceberg tonight. And we want you to see, because we want you to get a little sampling of what's possible for you to do in your homes, and to also get exposure to the fantastic leadership we have in town departments throughout our town government. They are working not only to make our programs and our infrastructure more eco-friendly and climate-friendly and more resilient, they're also working on initiatives to help you as community members in your homes and in your neighborhoods. And so tonight we're going to touch on a lot of different actions and look into what they are, why they're beneficial, and how you can get started. And when we talk about climate, when we talk about the solutions, it's always good to talk about, well, what's the source of the problem? And we all know that's greenhouse gas emissions. And Janet Mosley, who's here tonight, is our sustainability analyst. She measures our townwide greenhouse gas emissions every year. And you can see from this pie chart that 63% of townwide emissions come from our buildings. 42% of townwide emissions are actually from our houses, from our residential buildings. And then we also have contributions, of course, from college and commercial sector buildings, followed by municipal buildings. And on-road vehicles contribute 32% of townwide emissions, followed by waste at 5%. We're going to talk about all these areas tonight. And the town has had greenhouse gas emission goals since 2009. We've revised those goals a couple of times as we've met them. Currently, our goals are to reach net zero emissions by 2050 with interim targets below a 2007 baseline by 2030 and 2040. And these are goals that are shared by the state. They were also shared by the Biden administration and by many countries across the globe. We have a roadmap for meeting these goals, and we developed this roadmap with a community-wide process in 2022. And that roadmap contains over 90 actions spanning these 7 domains, these 7 pathways, and we're going to cover a lot of these tonight. We are well underway with implementation of that climate action plan. Some of our actions have been implemented, and almost all of them are at least underway, and we've made a lot of progress. We've actually reduced our emissions since 2007 by quite a bit. And there's a lot of factors that go into that reduction. One of the most important ones is the non-emitting electricity sources that the MLP has included in its portfolio. So what the MLP is doing is very important for our progress toward our goals. Now, in order to meet our net zero goals, we need the help of the full community. And you can see from this, this is actually quite light, but it's a very rough estimate of the how we are powering our homes in Wellesley. And you can see that with all of these forms of energy, we need to do better. We need to get off of fossil fuel, and we need to get off of inefficient electric resistance. And when we talk about that transition, there's some big picture sort of measures that we take. We want to think about first minimizing energy use. So through, for example, weatherization, air sealing, insulation in your homes. Also adopting energy efficient appliances and such as refrigerators and LED light bulbs. The most important way to reduce energy, of course, is to not use it in the first place. Get out of your car, walk and bike, dry your clothes on a rack. These kind of making choices where you're not using the energy in the first place. That's, of course, the best thing to do. And then for the energy we are using, we want to use electricity because the grid is getting greener and greener over time. So we want to turn our fossil fuel systems into heat pumps or electric lawnmowers or electric vehicles. And then, of course, is renewable energy and looking to solar and geothermal for those purposes. And so we're going to talk about all of these sorts of areas tonight that you see and pictured on this household. We'll be touching on most of these as we move forward toward the evening. Through the evening. And I'm going to start by jumping into weatherization and heat pumps. And before I do, I'll just comment that we would like to keep our questions until the end, after all of our speakers. And we will be sending our slides to you via email if you've provided your email address. So if you see a phone number or a link, you'll be able to have that in your inbox soon. So this idea of minimizing energy use definitely speaks to this question of weatherization, which is, when we're talking about homes, that is largely about insulating and air sealing. And benefits to doing that are reducing heating and cooling costs, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, increasing home value and the life of our HVAC systems, the comfort. Some types of insulation actually minimize noise. And there's studies recently showing that weatherization actually improves the health of the occupants of a building. And there's some very hefty incentives to go along with weatherization that I'll talk about shortly. So when we talk about kind of the path to weatherization, I want to take you through some steps that we recommend. And the first thing we recommend is that you contact one of our stellar no-cost energy coaches. And Tess Ruderman is going to talk more in depth about our energy coaches in a little bit. But for now, I just want to say contact an energy coach before getting started. Then get a no-cost energy assessment. If you are a gas-heated home, you want to call one number, an oil-heated home another. These different numbers are because your incentives are coming from different sources depending on your type of heating. Next step is you take your assessment, which is going to point to opportunities for weatherization in your home, and you implement it. However, if you're thinking about going for a heat pump, we suggest that you explore that heat pump work before installing the weatherization in your home so that you don't get into a situation where some of the weatherization work is complicating the installation of the heat pump. So, what are these heat pumps? And I should mention that we will be doing deeper dives on all of these topics in future programming. So again, back to the tip of the iceberg idea, we're going to do a really quick presentation on heat pumps right now, but stay on our email list to get more information on when we're going to do deeper dives, so we can let you know. So a heat pump is a system that basically uses refrigerant and a compressor to move heat from one space to the other. So when it's cold outside, you're actually drawing heat from the outside, bringing it into your home. In the hot summer, you want to take the heat out of your home with a heat pump. Heat pumps are fantastic for several reasons. One, you can heat, cool, dehumidify, and heat up your water with a heat pump. They're up to 3 times more efficient than fossil fuel systems. In Wellesley, they are less expensive to operate than fossil fuel systems, and they have lower greenhouse gas emissions. They're versatile. So you can go with a ducted system, or you can put one on your wall and have a you have a ducted system or a ductless system, which can go on your wall. You can, let's say you're doing an addition, you can choose to put your heat pump in the addition and keep your current system going in the rest of your home. And you can mix and match. They're also quiet, and there's incentives for them as well. And this is a slide from Mary Gard, and it's showing what she's done is she's taken a measure of dollars per million British thermal units, which is the unit of energy, and she's showing the cost of that, she's showing that ratio for different types of heating for a typical winter season, for the winter season of 24-25. And you can see for Wellesley, this is tailored to Wellesley's very low electricity rates, and you can see that it's why it's beneficial from a cost perspective. So, we're back to our sort of list of steps. Again, if you're going for a heat pump, we want you to go through these same steps because before getting a heat pump, you want to make sure that your home is sufficiently weatherized. So, if you want to go for a heat pump, contact the energy coach, get an assessment, get your weatherization plan, and then collect at least 3 heat pump quotes from 3 different contractors. And then you are ready to select a contractor, install, and get your rebates. And your energy coach can help you through all of these processes. And Tess will talk more about that. And these are just a few examples of what we've done in the town of Wellesley, a few things, in terms of weatherization and electrification. So our new net zero ready elementary schools, our historic town hall that we've electrified with heat pumps, and the Warren building, which we've also electrified, or we are in the process of electrifying with heat pumps. And now I'm going to move into a territory of incentives. And I want to thank Mary Gard because she's prepared all of these incentive slides, and she is the incentive guru, so she's going to be up here answering questions at the end. But just to give you a quick overview, there are utility rebates, there are tax credits, and also loans available. And this is a snapshot of a resource we have on our website that that takes you through all the different rebates, thanks to Mary and to Janet for putting this together. So for weatherization, for heat pumps, for EVs, you can get onto our website and find the specific rebates that are relevant to you, depending on your heating fuel. And I should say also that our website, Climate Action, it provides a great source of information for all the actions we're talking about tonight. And it also gives you a link to the energy coaching and to the incentives. So, the utility incentive, this is going to take us through utility incentives. The energy assessment that I talked about is free, regardless of your type of heating. There's hefty savings for insulation, 75 to 100% off if you're a gas customer, and up to 50% or total to a max of $2,500 if you're non-gas. There's these tax credits, which are 30% of the cost with an annual cap, but you can do those annually. You can revisit those tax credits annually, and you can see what's covered there. And then there's financing. For gas customers, a 0% interest, 3 to 7 term, $25,000 loan, and there's no restriction on income level. And then for certain income levels, you can get an Energy Saver home loan that's got a very low interest rate. And then for heat pumps, similarly, whether you're a gas or an oil customer, you get up to $10,000 for a heat pump system. federal tax credits that cover a lot of great projects in your home with an annual cap, and then the same kind of financing for regardless of your income, and then with an income restriction. Okay, so now I'm going to pass the baton to Tess Ruderman, who is from the Municipal Light Plant. She's joined us fairly recently, and she is the sustainability coordinator for our Municipal Light Plant. So, thank you, Tess.
Okay, hello everyone, good evening. Thanks so much for coming out on a Tuesday in February. It's incredible to see so many faces here. I'm Tess Ruderman. I'm the Sustainability Program Coordinator at the Municipal Light Plant, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Energy Coaching Program. So the Energy Coaches are about 10, mostly volunteers who are passionate about home decarbonization and spending their time and knowledge to help residents such as yourselves decarbonize their home. So we can help you with kind of a slew of home projects, from weatherization, heating and cooling with a heat pump, or heating your hot water, installing an EV charger at home, putting solar on your home, and a few other things. Can walk you through all those processes. So I want to highlight the top 3 benefits of an energy coach. One is that every home is different. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. Depending on the age of the home, whether you've put on an addition or renovation in your existing heating system, there's going to be kind of nuances to every home in decarbonizing. Second benefit is that many homeowners will know it always helps to plan ahead, because you don't want to be in a situation where your boiler goes and you don't have a backup plan. So if you're interested in decarbonizing your home, even if it's not the moment to replace your heating system, for example, having a plan in place for what you plan to get when, for instance, that boiler goes, makes it much easier, so you're not sitting in a cold living room saying, well, let's just go with what we had already. And the third benefit is that, as you can see, there's a slew of projects that are possibilities in decarbonizing your home, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So energy coaches really try and help prioritize for residents who are interested in decarbonizing. So usually, as Mary Beth pointed out, weatherization is a really good bang for the buck. That'll often be a first step, and then we can help you think about what order you might pursue other projects. And through this whole process, energy coaches can help solicit and understand bids from contractors and recommend contractors to get bids from, and understand what they're really quoting to you. Questions like, will this heat pump model really work for my house? Is this oversized or undersized? We also have a quote comparison service with another company that we work with, so we can help you with that. Answer questions like, do I need an electrical panel upgrade in order to put a heat pump in my home? There's a lot of things like this that can come up, and we're happy to work with you on those. And then lastly, as Mary Beth mentioned, we can help you navigate the financial incentives for all of these projects. So I won't go over all the details because it's all on our website, but I'll just say there are a slew of incentives, as Mary Beth mentioned. It can be a little overwhelming. It can depend on your home heating fuel currently. So energy coaches can help you figure out which incentives you're eligible for and where to apply for them. And that's all I've got. If you're interested in energy coaching, you can see me after, and I'll leave my flyers on the table up front. If you're interested in having a presentation at another community event at a school or something, please reach out and let us know.
Now I'm going to introduce Chris Chan, who's Assistant Director of the Municipal Light Plant.
All right, good evening, everyone. I was only given one slide. Go figure. So I'll be very short and brief. But solar is an important topic. So one of the sort of climate actions that an energy coach or the WMLP could provide advice on is whether solar is right for you. Solar, by any stretch of the imagination, is not an inexpensive proposition, but over time, over the long run, it could turn out to be a great money saver when you consider and factor in the available rebates that we offer, the tax credits that Mary Beth explained from the federal government, and the electric bill savings that you would accrue by not having to pay the light plant for the power that you're using to energize your home. So I am also thankful that even in the face of what could be somewhat of a longer payback period here in the town of Wellesley, that we have many residents who are willing to make that investment to improve the environment and health of their home. And we have some customers who are willing to take it all the way to what I would call climate nirvana. So they've fully electrified their home. They've replaced their fossil fuel systems with heat pumps. They have electric vehicles. And so now they're harnessing the power of the sun through these new solar systems to power their heat pumps and their EV chargers. Another benefit is there are studies out there that suggest that solar does increase the value of your home, somewhere on the order of 4%. But there are a lot of considerations to make when you're figuring whether or not solar is going to be right for you. Things like the age of your roof. You know, I know my roof is approaching its end of life, so I'm not looking to put solar right away until I get that roof replaced. The condition of your roof and the orientation. So ideally your roof is oriented, or the roof face on which you want to install solar is generally oriented towards the south. Shading, we are a tree city, which has its own benefits, but you know, obviously for a solar system you want to minimize any sort of shading to maximize the production of your solar array. And then something that Tess alluded to earlier, we would highly encourage that before you even think about solar or putting in solar on your roof, that you undertake an energy assessment and certain efficiency improvements, because you really want to maximize every bit of power that's coming off the solar to power your home. So after all that, if I have inspired you to pursue solar or explore it more in detail, we have a fairly robust webpage. It's called the Go Solar webpage. If you Google it, there you will find many online tools where you can estimate the cost of solar on your rooftop. You actually can input your address, and it'll give you an estimate. How much solar energy a system on your roof could produce. Potential energy savings, and actually get quotes from several vendors right there online. It also explains the interconnection process. So that process is a separate but complementary process to our rebate process. That interconnection process is with the light plant, just to make sure that your solar system as proposed is going to do in a safe and reliable manner. And then we have a very good and robust rebate program that we launched last summer. So that incentive is $1,200 per kilowatt, installed kilowatt. That rebate program is administered by Energy New England on behalf of not only the Wellesley Municipal Light Plant, but I think 6 or 7 other light plants in the Commonwealth. And then the last bit of information on our webpage is net metering. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that concept, if your solar system should produce more power than you need in your home, the light plant will issue you a credit for that excess power on your monthly bill. We would gladly take it and purchase that power from you instead of from the marketplace. So that's in a nutshell with respect to solar. So if any questions, feel free to ask me at the conclusion of these presentations.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Sheila, who's our new transportation mobility manager. Sorry, there you go. Sheila Page.
Yes, so I'm Sheila Page. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very, very happy that you're all here. Tonight I want to talk briefly about what is sustainable mobility, why it's important, and what we all can do to move it forward. So sustainability is transportation that gets us where we want to go and where we need to go in a manner that's safe, efficient, reduces fuel consumption, takes up less space. It essentially enhances our quality of life. And why is it important? As Mary Beth already mentioned, 32% of Wellesley's greenhouse gases is from the transportation sector. And in addition to the vehicle emissions, vehicle fluids that come off, the little bits that come off our tires, those sort of things are detrimental to our environment. So single occupancy vehicles take up a lot of space and resources as well. And I really like this photo because it kind of hits home. This is 69 people on a bus, on a city bus. It's 69 people in the middle on bicycles. And then the picture on the right is 69 people in 69 cars.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cars on the road, and Massachusetts has lots of cars on the road, and those cars drive lots of miles. In fact, in 2024, each registered vehicle drove 29.5 miles per day. That's a lot of congestion, and we know that's a lot of cars, and we know that this congestion is bad for our health. It wastes our time, it wastes fuel, and it wastes a lot of money. It costs the economy a big chunk of change. This diagram is from 2017. I imagine it is higher now. And also these numbers, the numbers of vehicles registered in Massachusetts and the miles driven, it goes up a little bit each year. So what can you do? The easiest thing you can do, and we were already talking about a little bit about this tonight, is to drive responsibly. In 2024, there were 325 roadway fatalities in Massachusetts, and 87 were people that were not in vehicles. If people don't feel safe walking or biking or standing on the side of the road to wait for a bus, they're not going to do it. In the Pew Research study, they did a survey, and 51% of suburbanites feel that our roadways are less safe now than they were before the pandemic. And it's key, so providing a safe environment, we want people to walk and bike and ride buses. So providing a safe environment is really important. And it's also, I kind of lost my train. Anyways, it's important. So the simplest thing that we can do is drive responsibly, and it costs us nothing. And also, put down that phone. I myself, when you're at an intersection, you're gonna just check your phone, you hear it ding, you kind of want to see what it says. But those people checking their cell phones cause delays at intersections, which then increases fuel consumption and increases congestion. So what can we do? Together as a community, we should be reducing single occupancy vehicle trips. We want people to choose to walk, bike, bus, or carpool. We also want people to ride the school bus. So please consider registering your child to ride the school bus, but not only register, but also ride the school bus. And if you're close to the school, please consider walking. Riding the school bus or walking fosters independence for the kids, and it also kind of fosters an expectation that you don't need to drive everywhere. And I think as our kids are growing up, I think that's going to become more and more important. So we all know we should take public transportation when we can. And Wellesley's really lucky. We have 3 commuter rail stops. They run 7 days a week. They run quite frequently. We also have the MWRTA, which is a bus that runs from the Natick Mall through Wellesley out to Woodland train station. This is a flag down system, so there's a few dedicated stops in Wellesley, but it runs a regular route on regular roads. But if you want it, you need to stand at the side of the road, and when the bus comes, you wave it down. This is fairly common in other parts of the world, but not so common here. And it is a little intimidating. So you just got to get out there and do it. I'm happy to go out with you and do it as well. If you want to test it, some people are nervous, because they don't want to be late for work, so I'm happy to do it the day before. Because also I think once the bus drivers know that you might be standing there, they're going to be looking for you. We also have Catch Connect, which was initially, it's kind of a little bit like Uber and Lyft, and it was initially designed to kind of solve that first last mile problem, getting people from the train station back home or from the bus station to their house. But in Wellesley, the Catch Connect is available to everybody over 12 years old, and it'll take you anywhere in Wellesley. So it's a Monday through Friday service. It's free. All of MWRTA's services are free at the moment through July 1. So it's a great time to try all those out. The commuter rail makes it easy to get to Worcester or Boston, but getting around to other places is much more difficult, and you kind of got to piece everything together. So on our website, we tried to kind of gather all the resources that are available for folks that are in Wellesley to help you kind of parse and put together your route. In addition, there's also a written list, like a whole written document, if that's an easier way for you all to digest that information. You can print that out. I'm also happy to print it out for you or send you the direct link. So despite all that, we are going to drive. So please consider driving an electric vehicle. It has 0 tailpipe emissions. You kind of all know the great things about it. There are financial incentives, and it is electric, but you can get the electricity from renewable resources. It also has lower maintenance. You don't have to do oil changes and various fluid changes. So it saves you approximately $5,000 in 8 years. It's healthier and it's quieter. And like any big purchase, you do your research. And in particular, if you ask an EV driver to ask them questions about their car, they're usually quite excited to show off their cars. So chat up your neighbors about this. And then also you do need to plan how you're going to charge. Are you going to charge at work? Are you going to install your own charger? And there are incentives for these chargers as well. In fact, there's a lot of incentives. The state has incentives going on right now, and you can get a $3,500 rebate for new and used cars. If you're income qualified, you get an additional $1,500. There's a rebate for trucks. There's also a rebate for $1,000 if you're trading in a fossil fuel vehicle and purchasing an EV vehicle. There's also federal tax credits. And then we also, our very own municipal light plant has a charger installation rebate program. So there's a lot of ways that can help you make an electric vehicle work for you. The town's also working through this. As our vehicles age out, we are purchasing all electric vehicles, so we're creating an electrified fleet as well. So what else can you do? You can advocate, and an easy way to advocate is to use public transportation. And I know for some of us it's not that convenient, but when an opportunity arises, maybe you're going to a friend's house, maybe you're going to a concert in Boston. The more we use that transportation, the more we'll show demand and the better the service. So it's sort of this, so we got to feed the cycle to make it work for ourselves. So whenever you have an opportunity, please try public transportation. And then also support projects and laws that incentivize or that prioritize alternative modes of transportation. And advocacy works. There's been a group of town officials and town residents who have worked really hard to get a mini-high built in Wellesley Square train station, and that enables people in wheelchairs or people with bags or people in strollers to easily get on the train. That mini high is opening hopefully this week, maybe next week, this month it'll be open and in use, and so that opens the access for more people to use public transportation. And then please participate. The town's working to create a better transportation network for us, but we need to hear from you. And one of the projects we're working on right now is to update our Complete Streets prioritization list. And Complete Streets is a program from Mass DOT, kind of reflecting a concept that we need to make our streets safe and convenient and comfortable for all users. So Mass DOT has funding available. In fact, we just received word that we received $400,000 to upgrade some sidewalks in town. But we need to update our list to keep us qualified for this program. So over on the table, and it'll be posted shortly on our website, we have a QR code that will bring you into a survey, like a map survey, where you can scroll in and put a point in and write what you think is the matter with an intersection, a crosswalk, a sidewalk. We want to know where you think they're needed, where they're not working. And we're going to work then through how to prioritize. First we need to identify our issues, and then we're going to try to prioritize them. So that's a current project going on right now. And then May is Mobility Month, and there's going to be, I'm working on it, so I don't have anything quite figured out yet, but we're working with MBTA and MWRTA to have some kind of programming to get people to try a different mode of transportation for a regular, a regular trip, whether it's to go shopping or to the library or to work or school. So that's coming up, so be on the lookout for those programs that are going to be happening in May. And that's all I got for you all, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila. And now I'd like to introduce Jamie Manzolini, who is superintendent of the recycling and disposal facility.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jamie Manzolini. I'm the superintendent of the RDF, the town's transfer station. Mary Beth called me late last week and said we said we were giving all the speakers 10 minutes, and I give you 5 minutes. So I kind of took it personally until I saw the pie chart and realized I was only 5% of the problem. So I said, sure, no problem. So for efficiency, I'm going to have her run through my slides, which are just beautiful pictures of the facility. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, by a show of hands, who in here is a Wellesley resident who does not use the RDF? Who does not use the RDF? Okay, I'm in the wrong room. So thank you to everybody who does use the RDF. I was hoping I could pull some more people in, but I guess I can't. So this is your beautiful facility. Thank you for using it. But I guess what I can plug and talk about is one of the materials that we're really pushing hard to take out of the trash stream is food waste. Food waste has a lot of benefits, and so we don't want to throw that away. And we, as a town, don't care how you take that out of the trash. If you want to backyard compost it, if you want to bring it to the RDF to have us run it through an anaerobic digester, or if you want to sign up for Black Earth, who's new to town, curbside, and they will compost it. We're impartial, but what we do want is to remove it from the trash. So we don't care how people participate, but we do encourage you to participate, and that would be wonderful, so thank you. There's some flyers over there for Black Earth, if you want to pick one up on your way out, or if you just want to bring it to the RDF, you can do that as well. Another thing, while I have a captive audience, shredding and household hazardous waste day are going to be in March this year, March 8th. I'm praying for no snow. My job might depend on it. So please pray for no snow. It's March 8th. It's a Saturday. It's typically on a Sunday. It's a Saturday. So it's a big change. So I'm trying to plug it everywhere I can. So thanks for letting me do that here. what are a couple other things that I was going to touch on? So the food waste is definitely a big thing. Everybody in here probably knows, the RDF is set up differently. It's a transfer station, permitted as a transfer station. We run more like a material, like a MRF, a material recovery facility. We market and sell all of the recyclable materials. So please bring us as many as you want to bring us. We process about 13 to 14,000 tons of material a year. And on a daily basis, my guys come up to me and say, boss, I'm bored. I want to do more stuff. I say, I'm going to try to get you more material. So please bring us more stuff to process. It's, they love it. So the one thing that I'll leave you with is something that I heard since I'm in the industry. Does anybody know what the alternative to recycling would be? Reuse. Reuse. Excellent. Most people say throw it away. And both of those are close. But the alternative to recycling is to mine Mother Earth to make that next product. Because we're going to make that next product. We're going to make that next bottle. We're going to make that next can. We're going to make that next battery. We're going to make that next box. I promise you, we're going to make it. So we're either going to make it from mining Mother Earth and taking it from her and making it, or we can recycle what we already have done that, and we can recycle it, and that's kind of the alternative. And so that kind of hit me pretty hard, because that next thing is going to be made. So how we make it makes a big difference. So food waste, take it out of your trash. Recycle. We'll take it. Bring us more stuff. I wish there was more people in here that don't use the RDF. But I think those are the big messages. Think you for using the RDF. Please tell your neighbors and friends and people that move into town to use us. I think that's it.
That was great, Jamie. Thank you so much. And I feel so strongly that the RDF is an absolute gem. And just to underscore what Jamie said about telling your neighbors, I mean, when I moved into town about 20 years ago, it was the culture that everybody brought their material to the RDF. And we got a lot of good toys that we brought and then brought back from the take it or leave it. So I think if any of your friends in your neighborhood that have little kids and aren't using it, they're missing out. Okay, so now, thank you, Jamie. I would like to introduce Brandon Schmidt, who is Director of the Natural Resources Commission.
All right, thank you, everyone. It's very nice to see everyone tonight. And it's like we didn't get through all
No,
the
that's
flyers.
right. That's the right one.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Well, good evening again. My name is Brandon Schmidt. I'm the Natural Resources Commission Director. I'm also a certified arborist, so I could talk to you all night about trees. But tonight, kind of have a more broad discussion about the town's natural resources and what the NRC and the other town departments are doing to protect and expand and enhance these, and hopefully, ideally, inform some of you all of what programs are available to you and you can take home. So the Climate Action Plan, the NRC was excited to be a part of the Climate Action Plan, developing these action steps related to better protect and manage our natural resources. Some of the highlights are listed here. They deal with tree protection, tree planting, wetlands protection, and education about these initiatives. Unlike some of the other programs, I think the natural resources is diverse, but it's fairly straightforward in terms of what people can take practical things to their homes. First, plant trees. This one's easy. It's an easy, cost-effective way to mitigate against climate change that has local and global benefits, and you can actually do it free with the town. I have door hangers over here if you want to drop a hint to a neighbor telling them about the program. I'm sure all of your lawns are filled with trees, but if they're not, contact us. We're actually right in the process right now of setting up site visits for the spring. By planting a tree in your yard, you can help us meet the tree canopy goals. In 2021, the NRC conducted a tree canopy assessment that looked at tree canopy change over the past decade in the town. The analysis helps us identify areas that need more trees and helps us prioritize outreach efforts to expand the canopy. The report's available on the NRC website, and I would encourage everyone to check it out, particularly if you're in one of the brown areas there, which represents the greatest areas of loss, of tree canopy loss. Those are the areas that we're going to have the most opportunity to grow that canopy back. The tree on the right is actually a beautiful tree that was planted by the town in one of the attendees' here yard. It's a red buckeye. So when you all are ready to plant a new tree on your property, new innovations in tree software allow us to maximize the environmental benefits using programs like iTree Design. With just a few clicks, iTree helps identify zones around a property where you can make the biggest impacts in terms of energy savings, as well as calculate the monetary benefits of tree planting on your property. The model above, the picture in the upper left, is a house on Willow Street, and it just shows you the darker green areas are the areas that would maximize those environmental benefits from heating and cooling. And so this is a free program. It's available online. You can all take this home, and now is a perfect time to plan for planting in the spring. Let's see. What else did I want to say about this? These are just the outputs from iTree. I wanted to point out the graph in the middle shows you this almost exponential growth, which I think just shows you the highlights of if we preserve trees and allow them to mature, they will provide exponential benefits at a certain age. Oh, and the graphic in the bottom middle is Kavanaugh Street, and all those little blue dots represent trees that the town has planted. So hooray for Kavanaugh Street, they're doing a great job. We've got a Kavanaugh resident there. In addition to the tree planting program, the NRC and DPW have been working on shifting our landscapes from resource-dependent and high-maintenance landscapes to ones that support biodiversity and lower inputs for maintenance. A few programs the town has implemented are designating no-mow areas for the month of May and leave the leaf areas in the fall. If you're a bit of a lazy gardener like I am, you're going to love these. They literally do nothing. These are attractive ways to cut emissions from lawn equipment and protect the creatures in your yard. The other thing that I strongly recommend, right now it's a great time to do it, is if the ground is thawed enough to take a soil sample, and I understand many people hire firms to do their lawn maintenance, and I would still recommend get a soil sample for just $22, which includes the return address. You can send this out to the UMass Extension and get their routine soil analysis. Really like what is in your yard. And so if someone's selling you a maintenance package, they're selling you inputs, putting chemicals and things in your yard, you want to know why. And so we recommend this test. If you're not able to do this, contact our office. We can try to help you out with that. And at very least, ask your lawn care company, what are they doing to your yard? We hope everyone considers converting some of their turf grass at home, and we have plant lists to help. Right behind the building here, the town converted roughly 10,000 square feet of conventional lawn into a landscape that includes trees, shrubs, grasses, wildflowers, forbs that support not just kind of your typical honeybee, but they're actually the plants that this list of 80 pollinators require for survival. And these are all listed on as threatened species in Massachusetts. This is illegible, but these are all the plants. If you wanted to take these home and procure them, we can tell you where we bought them, and we recommend if you can incorporate some of these into your yard. Electrification. So the Public Works Department has been really a leader regionally on this. They've created green zones managed exclusively with electric equipment that include the library campus, the police station, as well as some of the other pocket parks and parts of Fuller Brook. They've invested significantly in these battery-powered electric equipment, including some automated features there. I think they have an automated line painter for the athletic field, so they're making a lot of advancements in that. And I think the DPW, not to speak for them, would encourage everyone to consider using these at home. So I'll just leave this up here. Wetlands are an incredibly important piece of the landscape in Wellesley, and they cross all municipal, private boundaries. They're all connected. Very important ecological resources, but they also help manage the town's stormwater, and they are important carbon sinks. So whatever we can do to protect and enhance or even expand these, I think is good for the town. So I would just say we have information. I think long-term we're going to see this play out with our MS4 permit, where homeowners may benefit financially from credits potentially if they're able to expand wetlands on their properties. Let's see. So some final ideas. We're going to be coordinating rain barrel sales through the Great American Rain Barrel Company in Hyde Park. The delivery date for that is April 17th. January was actually Bring Your Own Bag Month, but you can celebrate all year, and if you are still looking for that Valentine's Day gift, I've got a couple of these very romantic Natural Resource Commission bags back there. Please pick those up. And Jamie mentioned composting through the municipal program. You can also just do it at home. And let's see. That's all I have. Call us, email us, check out our newsletter, and thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm just going to wrap us up with, this is our, a logo from our website, Climate Action website, where it will, the pages there will kind of walk you through a lot of what we talked about tonight in a little bit more detail. Oops, where's my ending slide? Okay, my ending slide is not here. Okay, so I'll remember what's on it. The ending slide is about just a call to action to invite you to engage in any of the, in the actions that you heard about tonight. And there's a number of, as you've seen, there's a number of resources to help you. We encourage you to contact an energy coach or order a tree from NRC and go, visit the RDF. And there's other ways that you can take action as well. And Sustainable Wellesley's here, Wellesley Green Schools is here, Climate Action has a sign up. We all have sign ups. So being informed and being on our email lists are great ways to kind of stay in the loop. We have more programming planned, and we'll be going, as I said, into deeper dives on a lot of the topics you heard about here. And so we really would love to be connected to you. In addition, we would love to know if you have a very close-knit, for example, neighborhood, because we're interested in piloting some neighborhood initiatives around climate, because the research shows that social norms are what get people to change their ways and their practices and adopt things like EVs and solar panels. And so if you have a close-knit community with a good communication system, we'd love to know about it. We would also love to be invited to speak at your house of faith or your garden club or your service organization or community group. So we are up for going on the road. And we also invite you to volunteer with us, with any of the groups here tonight. There's so much room and there's so much to do. We would love to hear from you about your interests. And we also encourage you to run for office. There's, these seats on Wetlands Production Committee, for example, the Natural Resources Commission, the Climate Action Committee, the Municipal Light Board, really important roles in our government. And so that's a really good way you can also get involved. So Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to invite the speakers to come up and join me in the front here so that they can take your questions.
Good evening, Mark Maiden. This specifically for Jamie. One of my pet hates is plastic. I think we all have. There's so much, it's hard to buy anything that is not in plastic. And we're long-time users of the dump, the colloquial name, of course, and very carefully, assiduously recycle everything we can, particularly the plastics. But I heard recently that it's difficult to get any or good price for recycled plastics. And the question is, can that be improved? Can municipalities with good recycling at Wellesley get together and leverage the access to that raw material to places that may be able to recycle it, and or encourage the development and use of bioplastics? And if I may, just one thing. Like many of us, we like to patronize Wellesley restaurants for takeout. There's a range of materials used in those, and unfortunately some of that still seems to be plastic. So back to my earlier point, can we persuade more places to use better materials and or bring in bioplastics to try and reduce that? So thank you.
Sure. Okay, does this thing work? No?
No.
Okay, so as the co-op, can municipalities get together to market their material better? Yes, there is the South Shore Co-op, and I don't know if people are aware, but Wellesley actually is part of a recycling co-op as well out of New Hampshire. I sit on the board of NRRA, which is the Northeast Resource Recovery Association. And so, we work together. We're all in this problem together, and we work together. The biggest problem, not the biggest problem, but the biggest challenge is to get the material clean enough. If you're part of a co-op, you don't want to be that community that delivers the material and spoils the bunch for everybody else. So co-ops are a little challenging in that regard. However, there are communities that try to do that, and that do that to, because the more material you have, the better price you can get for it, as long as it's clean, as long as it's good. The second part of the question is we're working on it. There's a working group for Skip the Stuff. There's many phases to that, 4 phases. The first phase is to not have the restaurants just throw the stuff in the bag that you don't need. The second phase is to talk about the reducing the plastic takeout containers, and is there a better alternative? Going up to the 4th phase of bringing your own reuse container or having the restaurants have reuse containers. And these folks here can speak to more detail about that, but it has been noticed, and there are people working and spending their time to combat that problem.
I can add just a little bit to what Jamie was talking about in terms of your question about takeout waste from restaurants. We are working on that. Philippa Biggers and Lisa Giger, who are here from Sustainable Wellesley, brought forward a proposal for a bylaw to go before annual town meeting 2025, and Climate Action Committee, Board of Health, Select Board, and the Board of Public Works are sponsoring that for annual town meeting, and that's going to that bylaw, if passed, would require that restaurants to not hand out single-use items and condiments without being asked by the customer for those items to try to cut down on the waste. But that's as Jamie's saying, that is the first step to a multi-phase process, getting closer and closer to what you're talking about.
And I would just add, if you're in favor of skip the stuff, contact your town meeting member and tell them to vote yes.
Thank you. That was fantastic. And I just had, in terms of communication with people in the town, I just had a suggestion, and I don't know, because I just planted a tree. I didn't know that you would plant trees. I love the recycling disposal center, and I didn't realize this. I sort of started to see there's something about food waste. I never thought of switching to an electric mower. Like you just said, all these great ideas. So a flyer, door to door, for each household, indicating very simply, I've been trying to do this energy assessment. I bet if you ask people in town, only a smaller percentage know they can get an energy assessment done for free, have an expert come help. So I don't know if that's a useful suggestion, but you mentioned neighborhoods, and cohesion is another way, but it just seems to me that the more people hear about this besides attending meetings like this, the better for all of us.
Thank you for that. Communication is one of our biggest challenges. We're actually working really hard at it. We've partnered with Homeworks Energy to do what you're saying in terms of having people go door to door, canvassing every house in Wellesley to invite them to sign up for a home energy assessment. And they started in the fall, and they're making their way over through town. Megan is here over in the corner there from Homeworks Energy, and she's here to sign people up for the home energy assessments. We are very much, any ideas you might have on communication, we welcome them in terms of reaching people who are so busy. We've been trying social media, direct mail, canvassing, but it's a challenge, and love to talk to anybody who has new ideas on that. Thank you.
So Mary Beth, did you say you could sign up for a home energy audit today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, my name's Rich Warner. I like to walk, and I also like to play bridge. I play bridge 3 times a week, twice at the Needham Senior Center and once at the Wellesley Senior Center. And from my home, it's fairly easy to walk to the Needham Senior Center. I walk every time up until when the snow came. That's another problem. But it's difficult to get to the Wellesley Senior Center because there's no safe pathways that are anywhere close to direct. And so I guess my question is, what are we doing to increase the availability of good walkways for people who like to walk to get to where they want to go?
I'm happy you asked that question. We build, sidewalks are fairly expensive to build. So we build about a mile and a half of new sidewalks each year. So it's kind of a slow process. But it's important that we prioritize where we build our sidewalks. I know a lot of neighborhoods want them, but we also want to get people where they want to go. So if you want to write on my big sheet over there where your route is, that would be really, really helpful. Because right now we're trying to identify areas where we want sidewalks, crosswalks, anything that helps people get around without a car. And we're making a prioritized list. So yeah, if you want to write it down after I can meet you over there, that would be great.
Hi, I too am coming away from like 12 different ideas. I'm going to try to remember them all. I'm not sure I'll be successful. But I want a rain barrel. I want the trees. I want the leaves on the lawn. I'm still working on that one, Brandon. Will I be allowed to leave the leaves on my lawn? But I do that. You should mow them in, I think, is the answer. Just want to get back to the communication question, because there's so many things I could go at. I wish we had a train station where people could be in shelter. I wish there could be more dignity when we took public transportation. Wish more people were on electric bikes and there's more room for them on the road. All kinds of things. But your point about can we reach out to neighborhoods and people and learn from our neighbors who are doing the right thing. And I'm on Denton Road, and we have a neighborhood conservation district, the only one in the town. There should be more. But we're not communicating the successes of that. Maybe we haven't even digested that. But there are people who are leaders in those communities, and there's one neighbor across the street. She just put in heat pumps. And I'm thinking we should all be, gathering around their new kitchen to learn about the heat pump. So maybe there's a way of doing this sort of peer inspiration and identifying these leaders and then finding a way to gather people and learn from them, because that's peer pressure and peer inspiration maybe. So put down Denton Road, because I think we're also, how do we get more people to plant trees? We can see the canopy disappearing. Even though we have a neighborhood conservation district, somehow the trees are still going down. No plan to replant. It's sort of a soft spot in the neighborhood conservation district. So, it's a delicate conversation to say to someone, you need a tree in your front yard. We have a plan for your yard, but there's got to be a way to do that. So I saw some tools on the tree planting, and there may be some ways of inspiring them using those tools to say, these are the benefits. So, a lot of work at the neighborhood level. No questions.
I have two questions or suggestions. One is that there are certain plastics that are recycled. There's a report that less than 10% of the plastics we dispose of are recyclable. I'm going to get a response to that. Second point I want to make is, with all of these the discussions about emissions that we've seen, the building, transportation, so on, there are several big organizations. New Hampshire has one that's statewide. It's called New Hampshire Climate Health. Planetary Health is a big organization out of Johns Hopkins. The emissions from transportation alone, with these major highways that come through the Wellesley area, Mass Turnpike, 95, 128, Route 30, Route 9, thousands of cars a day going both ways. They produce this particulate matter which gets into people's lungs, causes respiratory problems, cardiovascular problems, and so on. Shouldn't that be part of our reporting and our investigation?
So thank you for that question. We, for a long time, we counted the emissions on the roadways coming through Wellesley. So both the roadways in Wellesley and the major highways traversing Wellesley. And that's how we calculated our emissions in past years. It's funny that you asked that, because this is the first year that we've had Massachusetts vehicle census data, which has allowed us to do what we've been wanting to do, which is to calculate emissions from the vehicles owned in Wellesley. And we feel like that is, what you're saying is absolutely right, that the emissions from the vehicles traversing the community have very important implications for health. When we're trying to encourage people to change the kind of cars they're driving, it's actually very useful to have emissions from the vehicles that are owned here, because that's what people here have control over, right? We can't really control the traffic that's passing through us, but we can control what we're owning and driving in town and how much we're driving. So our emissions townwide now, and I invite Janet Mosley to jump in on this because she's working with the numbers, but we have a model right now that is focused on those vehicles owned in Wellesley, but we have the ability to calculate the highway traffic too.
In addition to that, you could, if you live within 400 or 500 yards of any of those major throughways, you should have those windows closed on that side, and you should have air filters in your house. That's something you could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. That's absolutely right and a really good point.
Can I just speak up real quickly? Please remember not to idle. That's a huge issue. Yeah, people don't realize how significant that is. Idling, especially in your schools, little children, their system is taken out of the exhaust. That's something we really need to think about and somehow advocate.
Chris, I think it would be really helpful if you share with the town. Most people, we're talking about electrifying our homes, electrifying our cars, electrifying our lawn equipment, but most people don't realize that in Wellesley, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're almost at 80% non-meeting, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, thankful.
I mean, people will be like, oh, well, I don't mind
Yes.
electrifying because I know it's coming from, non-fossil fuels.
That's a good point. So the Wellesley Light Plan is really ahead of target, so to speak. We obviously purchase power on your behalf from the wholesale market to power your homes, et cetera, et cetera. And, thankfully, through the hard work of our leadership, we are roughly 60 to 70% of our energy supply portfolio is non-emitting. So that includes wind, solar, hydro, and nuclear. So we're trying to make more progress up to that 100% goal by 2050. It's harder to come by, right? Because those resources are becoming more limited, especially with sort of the tenet of the federal government now. So, but we are trying to work towards that goal in the end. Thanks, Phyllis.
Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation. I just wanted to tell you about a couple of ideas I've heard of, and I don't think you're in them, so I apologize if you are. One is going into the classrooms, maybe in science programs at the middle school or the early high school years, maybe doing a sort of presentation and education for children that would help bring it forward into the future and get it into people's heads so it becomes a habit. And the second is on wonderful Wellesley, maybe setting up a table with some sort of information there and people sitting at the table or running some sort of program there so it comes to others' minds. And I'm aware of an organization on the North Shore that's called Greenscape's North Shore Coalition that does provide educational opportunities and support for programs such as what you're doing. And if you become a member of it, maybe that would help. And that's all. I also did want to know what happens with the composting. Do you make money off of that from the RDF? Is that what's the benefit besides good for the environment?
So the food waste we pay to get rid of. We don't make money off of the food waste. However, we pay less than we pay for the trash. So there's a cost benefit there. And it's turned into, it still has a lot of positive attributes that we pull out of it. So it's not only is it saving us a little bit of money, but we're turning it into something positive. We're turning it into gas, heat, fertilizer, bedding. So what our food waste goes to is it goes to Vanguard Renewables, and then it goes to dairy farms around the state, to an anaerobic digester, and once it gets to the farm, nothing comes off the farm. There's no waste. Everything's utilized right there on the farm.
What about the mountain of leaves?
So the mountain of leaves is completely separate. So we make money on the leaves. Bring us the leaves and the grass. We do. We sell that as fast as we can process it. We have buyers for that want more material. It was in the budget this year for a new screener, and I'm thinking we might be able to double the output of that material. So I'm hopeful, but we'll see what it does. We'll see what piece of equipment we get. But yes, we do sell the leaves and the grass, and we have buyers that will buy that as much as we can process.
Do you make loam?
Do we make loam? No.
What are you selling
Would the leaves turn into?
The product we sell is a municipal grade, low grade screen compost. That's what we sell, and then we sell it to greenhouses and other landscape companies that agitate it and add things to it to enhance the product.
Hi, I actually had one. Thank you for. I was going to offer going into classrooms because our kids are at Wellesley Middle School and the elementary school as well. I thought that could be a great opportunity. One of the questions that I was thinking of was multi-unit buildings in Wellesley, and thinking about that with the RDF. Like, has there been conversations with homeowners or landlords who have these multi-unit homes that do not recycle and they do not have proper disposal of trash, for example, just having a compost option for their residents there? That's something that I think of quite a bit. Living in a we live in a condo, for example, in a condo association, and so we as a family, we work really hard we compost, we recycle, this is our table here, where we really focus on reducing the single-use plastics, which is kind of like what you were mentioning, and that has a lot to do with habit and knowing what's available to people out there. So my main question for you, Jane, is really about what are those conversations between the town, between RDF, and homeowners who have these multi-unit homes that they're renting or that is a part of a home association or whatever, that aren't actually doing anything about it because there aren't any maybe repercussions or guidelines set for them.
Yeah, so we don't specifically talk to the homeowners. We mainly focus on the residents that live there. And if the residents are coming up with a snag saying, we want to compost, but the association won't let us put a bin out or something like that, we'd like to know about that so we can kind of work over that, that hump. But we don't reach out to homeowners specifically. It's mostly the residents. It's mostly the people that are generating the waste. There's a lot of homeowners in town that own a lot of property in town, but they're not allowed to use the RDF. Who can use the RDF are the people that are living in their homes. But if there's residents that are having a hard time, recycling or composting, we would like to know about that so we can, see if we can, resolve it.
Actually, I can probably just shout out, back on the plastics thing is, what's the prospect of getting to do anything with plastic bags?
To recycle them?
Yes.
So we're constantly working on that and looking at that. There's only one company in the United States that actually recycles plastic bags. It's Trex. And I put a call into them about every 6 months, and I've kind of handed the torch over to we hired a waste reduction coordinator, and she's making the phone calls. And their program to recycle plastics is growing. And the question that I want answered is, if I get 3 or 4 bales of plastic, how do I get rid of them? Will you pick them up? Can you send me a truck? Can you do half loads? Can you do quarter loads? If not, where can I drive them to? Where can I drop them? And we haven't gotten that answer yet. So their program is really dropping these collection bins in schools and town halls and stuff where you only get a bag at a time, and then you can bring it to a supermarket, and then they can backfeed their transportation. But us as a town, or me as the RDF, I can't drop them 47 bags, because they'd be like, what am I going to do with this? So there's a volume situation that we're trying to work through. But I'm hoping at one time, we'll even out, and I'll get a place where I can drop them. Right now, there's no collection point in Massachusetts or Rhode Island or Connecticut. The closest place is like up in Maine, and so we're aware of it.
Can I just ask, I was under the impression imagine that Roach Brothers actually does recycle them.
Oh, they do. So there's places and drop-off places for plastic. So if you have plastic, I would encourage you to drop them off at the Shaws or the Roach Brothers or the Whole Foods, and they will backfeed the system and recycle those. But people want to do it at the RDF, and I can't take what I collect at the RDF and give it to Roach Brothers or give it to Shaws. They're not interested.
Mary Beth, can you just talk about green schools for a second?
Yes. Thank you for the great comments about schools and outreach to the schools. We are very fortunate at Wellesley to have an organization called Wellesley Green Schools, and they have some material out. And Michelle Foster, the leader of Wellesley Green Schools, which is affiliated with Sustainable Wellesley, is here. And Michelle, I wondered if you wanted to say anything to these comments.
We have a sign-up sheet on one of the tables for anyone who might be interested in learning more about Wellesley Green Schools. It's an all-volunteer organization of people who interface with the students, the administrators, the teachers, to promote sustainability in schools. And I'm glad it came up twice tonight. I'm like, oh, so excited. And I have an 8th grader, and I just want you guys to know that I was just at the middle school. They do this awesome project called House Unplugged. It's a net zero school project where they, in a group, they create a house that's a net zero house. And so they're learning all about heat pumps, they're learning about electrification, they're learning about the climate action plan, they're learning about insulation. Basically, they're learning everything we learned tonight, they're learning that in my child's 8th grade class. So there's many more stories like that from within the school, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody. And I welcome anybody to work with me on these types of things. Thank you. And Mary Beth and I did the presentation together. It was awesome. It's kind of just like this, but for the kids.
Yeah. We're also working from an operational level with the schools. They're a very important part of, most of the buildings that we have in town are school buildings, or a big percentage of them. And so we are engaging with the school committee over school building issues. Climate Action we were very grateful to School Building Committee and School Committee for inviting us in to help have a say in the net zero ready elementary schools. So in that area, we also, thanks to the Department of Public Works, now have 2 new waste coordinators in the schools, and Amanda Crowley is here, she's one of them, and we have Amanda and Amber Keller, who are working in the schools on this very challenging aspect of waste.
Yes.
And townwide.
I wanted to put in a quick about the plastic bags. We are looking to put some bins at schools for trucks pickup. They're currently picking up plastic that wraps the pallets of food and the shipments that come to the school cafeterias, and all that plastic is being collected and recycled with trucks. We're kind of in a running with this company. Trex makes decking, and they also make outdoor furniture. And if you collect a certain amount of plastic, you can get a bench. So Wellesley may have a bench from collecting all this plastic from the cafeteria. It's not a big part of our waste in Wellesley or our emissions in Wellesley, but it is something tangible, and we're hoping that kids getting involved in bringing in plastic bags and putting them at Honeywell, which is where the first bin will be located. It should be open to the public, but we will keep everybody posted. Little things like that we're working on.
And I think I might as well also add, Amanda's working tirelessly, and we've, over the years, to implement food waste diversion in the cafeterias in both the middle and high school to try to, make kids aware of that at their lunch times and stuff. It's been challenging, but we're not giving up.
And Wellesley Green Schools has been critical to that effort. They've built the foundation for that work, so they've been amazing. And really have mobilized all these parents. It's a fantastic set of people. So.
I wanted to thank you for this great presentation. I have a question. My husband and I have been composting and organic gardening our little 1/3 of an acre in Wellesley now for 35 years, and we have some of the most beautiful soil in town. However, it's very disconcerting to watch most of our neighbors, the majority of our neighbors, dump pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and chemical fertilizers on their yards over these 35 years. And so we are definitely outliers, and we feel like we can't really say much. But I was wondering if there's some kind of way to educate people about how dumping all that crap on their yards is damaging the earth. So that's my question.
Whoops. It's a great point, and again, like all of these issues, we try our best to communicate that. This one is a very hard habit to break. The project name here is Habit to Habitat. And we've tried. One idea that we had was we produced little green signs to counteract the little yellow death signs that you see in everyone's yards. And we have tons of information on our website, but it really comes down to that habit of people. It's an easy problem to fix with writing a check, and you sign your contract in the winter when you're not thinking about your yard. And they sell a very easy program. It has green in the name. So I think it's a very hard habit to break, and we're trying by leading by example, like what can your yard look like? So it's really kind of a shift, a paradigm shift of what does a good, healthy yard look like. But we're trying, open to any ideas.
Does anyone have any energy or energy coach related questions? We haven't really touched on that much yet. Anybody? Sorry.
So I kind of anticipate a collective sigh. How many people have seen houses go down and trees go down? I just feel like, okay, if they're gonna make so much damage, what about? I think there have been some efforts reaching out to builders, to developers, and to real estate agents to advocate for homes with greener energy, with sustainable landscaping, permeable pavement, areas where there might be solar. I would really love to be able to see how we as a town can advocate for that. And not quite so many trees going down. That damages not just the ecology, it's talk about stormwater damage. Everything that retains the stormwater is gone afterward. The habitat is gone, biodiversity is gone. And then you get these neighbors that are abutting and they get water in their basements. Not to mention all of the detriment from the environmental waste from bringing down those homes, everything in the air. All the trucks that go back and forth with their emissions. So I wonder if there's some positive way going forward as a community we can work with the developers, with the real estate agents and all of the stakeholders.
Thank you, Susan. We did last year. I think it was last year. Do something pretty big on new construction, which was to adopt the municipal specialized opt-in building code, which has a lot of provisions in that really push people building homes to make them all electric. So there's a huge incentive baked into those provisions of that code. And for example, multifamilies over 12,000 square feet and 4 stories have to be passive house under that. Building homes over 4,000 square feet have to be net zero. Am I right on that? Yeah, net zero. So that's actually a huge leap forward for us to have passive house baked into the code, for example, and the net zero piece. And if you put fossil fuel into those homes, into the structures, you have to compensate for it with solar. So, and you have to wire them for electricity. If you have a gas dryer, you've got to be pre-wired for electric in the future. So that, that's not getting at your tear down question, but it is getting at something that, is a pretty important development in terms of our energy code and what we're requiring of new construction. I think that you're bringing up trees coming down, and that relates to the tree bylaw, and I know there's talk about strengthening that. I don't know if Brandon wants to say anything about the tree bylaw. And then the tear down question, that is related to the bylaw that was passed recently. I think the Historical Commission advocated for it, that, houses of a certain age could not be torn down, had to have a waiting period and things like that. So there's things like that that can be done to address, what I agree with you. It's really upsetting to see things come down in, these homes and the trees. But I'll pass it to Brandon. And I community activism, citizens petitions for town meeting, things like that are needed.
Yeah, it's a great question, and just so everyone, so the town has a tree preservation bylaw, which, but still by right, you can remove any tree on your property. And that bylaw took many trials to get passed by town meeting. We recently revised it, and so we removed any exemption. We were finding that a lot of trees were considered hazard, which were exempt, so you could take them down without, we were finding plans with 60% of the trees on the lot were called hazards. So there have been improvements. They also decreased the minimum size of the trees that were considered by the bylaw. But I really think like what you're getting at is this is a classic carrot or stick issue, and I'm not aware, I'm on a Tree Wardens Association for this, I'm not aware of any community in the Commonwealth who has thought up a great carrot. And so it's this stick thing where we're charging them, and maybe we're not charging enough for tree removal. But I also have some concerns about, forcing people to leave trees, driving all over the roots without the proper protection measures in place. So it's a very complicated issue, but fundamentally, what level of regulation is the town willing to accept on what they might look as a private property right? And I think it is shifting more towards this is a collective resource that we're losing, but when it comes down to one property at a time, it's really hard to regulate. So again, I'm really open to any ideas, but I could see incentivizing it somehow, but I don't know where that incentive would come from.
I'm Michael Rossetta. I'm the current chair of the Wellesley Historical Commission, and somebody mentioned the tear-down bylaw, which has been in effect for a number of years. The houses built before 1950 have to come through us to determine whether or not they should be preferably preserved for some historic reason. That only means they don't. If they are preferably preserved, you can't tear it down for a year. After that, the homeowner's free to do whatever the homeowner wishes from a historical standpoint. But one thing we are considering right now at a very early stage, the carrot and the stick. Currently, the bylaw is a stick. You can't do it. We'll impose a delay, and maybe people will come back and they get a waiver and they can build something that's not too bad, not a McMansion. But one of the things we're at an early stage of looking into is a carrot. And we'll be reaching out to various constituencies about that. Are there ways that we can incentivize people, instead of saying you can't do that, to incentivize them to not want to do that? Maybe tax breaks, maybe some grants and other issues. And it ties in with sustainability, I think, which is why the last questioner brought it up. But I just want you to know that we're thinking about that, and we'll probably be reaching out to various people in town government in the community to see if that's something they want to do.
if we're trying to get people to use the trains more, I thought maybe one gateway to that would be going to Logan Airport. Sometimes I feel like my wife and I are the only non-Wellesley students I ever see on the train going to Logan Airport. It cost me $6.40 to get from Wellesley Square to Logan. At last I checked, Uber was about $80, and it's $30 a day in the economy lot to leave your car. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but people don't do it. And I think once people got used to using the train for one thing, they might use it for others.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's one of the new tabs on the website is ways to get to Logan, because it's much less expensive, and frankly, it's very easy. Thank you.
Great presentation, and I hope a lot of people take advantage of the housing energy coach and every other amazing things you talked about. I do have something on my wish list. Is this echoing? Yeah. And that is to do with biking. You know, this is a town where it's nice to walk, but some places are a little too far to walk, but they are biking distance quite easily. And I don't know what the solution is, because I think the roads are tight and there's a lot of cars. But I feel like our neighborhood towns surrounding us, somehow, maybe they're lucky, the roads are a bit wider, I don't know, but I feel like we should somehow be able to do more. You know, I live fairly close to the Brook Path, and my kids did access that going to Honeywell when they were small, and that was huge. But I would love to see cross-town ways to do this where you don't feel like you're taking your life in your hands. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just putting it out there that I feel that should be part of the transportation, you know, plans, and maybe there are some plans. I know this is new to, you know, you're new. I don't know how far we've got with any of those, but I just wanted to mention that. But beyond that, I'm very happy with the talk, and I'm really glad you've had a chance to talk about all these things to the general public. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Biking in Wellesley is difficult. It's not comfortable, and it's a tough challenge because it's hard to fit all of the needs in our roadways, and so we do need to prioritize. But that's part of this. I keep saying the complete streets thing, but it's because what I'm working on now. But that's part of the effort, is to try to flesh out where we are willing to sacrifice something to make room for bikes. But it's tough. It's very hard, because we also don't want to advertise, you know, hey, this is a great route, if it's not, too.
So we're getting on into, I see there are a couple of other questions. Maybe one more question, because we have to, the library's going to close, and we have to clean up. But it's great to have questions and engagement. So why don't you take that? Yeah. And then Phyllis seems.
Jamie, if you would, just talk to us a little tiny bit about plastic recycling. There's a lot of controversy in one of the communities where I do some giant receptions, and we talk a lot about black plastic and microplastics and recycling plastics responsibly. And I just wondered, I'd love to hear from somebody skilled like you, if you could just please tell us a little bit about how much of plastic is recycled, and what does it matter what kind, and maybe we should be turning back black plastic to caterers or restaurants or something, and asking them to either recycle it themselves responsibly or reuse it, or maybe we should be outlining some of the things that we can't really responsibly recycle. Will you help us?
I'm trying. Yeah, there's a lot of plastic out there. You know, one of the phases to skip this stuff is to address the black plastic takeout containers and to eliminate that from, you know, being used in the first place. The whole issue with we we should have asked this 2 hours ago, but, you know, to put everybody's, you know, I don't want to say mind at ease, technology is advancing at an incredibly fast rate right now. It's unfortunate that a lot of these MRFs invested about 8-10 years ago into optical sorters. If they had waited about 8 years, what they could get for their money now is probably 100 times more efficient and better. The problem is they invested millions of dollars back then. They're not just going to invest another millions of dollars now. However, there is a plant in Boston where we're taking our plastic, which just made about a $30 million investment in AI optical sorters and the like, which you know, I haven't toured it yet, I haven't seen it yet, but you know, that's where we're sending all of our plastic, and it's all getting recycled. To what degree or percentage, I'm not sure. I'm hoping 100%. You know, but it's, you know, the industry is moving forward. And also, to keep in mind, markets go up and down. Right now, the markets are pretty low, so people aren't that excited about, you know, recycling plastic. When markets are high, people are going to be very excited to recycle plastic again. And they always ebb and flow. They always go up and down. So we just have to, right now we're in a down, and soon we'll be in an up again. But technology is advancing. Always, and you know, it's getting better and better. The outlook of recycling plastic is getting better. But the microplastics, I don't know what the answer is to there. Those are everywhere, and there's trillions of them. So you know, that's a tough one.
Super fast. So all these superheroes up here are all municipal employees, but their boards, who they report to, are elected officials, and most of them are volunteers. And as Mary Beth said earlier, you should definitely, you know, think about who you're voting for. On February 26th, let me just double check. 26th, Sustainable Wellesley is having a conversation with the candidates night right here in this room. It starts at 7 p.m. And you can meet the candidates, and then you can decide who you want to vote for, who's going to advocate for you at the table at the school committee, at the table at the Natural Resource Commission, at the table at the light plant, et cetera, et cetera. So it's February 26th, 7 p.m. I invite you all to come. Oh, but this is just a sustainable one. Yep.
All right, thank you all so much for coming and staying long. Really appreciate it.